to you?
Women empowerment, in my dictionary, it means equal rights to both women and men, both.
What does women empowerment mean to you?
Means that I have the freedom to make the choices that I wish for me and also my family.
Okay. So what does women empowerment mean to you?
For me, women empowerment means giving women the kind of power that cannot be taken away from them. That includes educating them. That involves inculcating good values in them, and that also involves equipping them with life skills. And when we say women empowerment, for me that doesn't mean it's a battle between the two sexes. It is rather accepting that both sexes have strengths and weaknesses, likes and dislikes, and embracing your uniqueness.
So what does women empowerment mean to you?
Women's empowerment for me means women being able to make their own choices wherever and however they want, and having the facilities and the accessibility to implement those choices.
What does women empowerment mean to you?
I think it means being able to do what you love to do, what you want to do, both personally and professionally. It means you get a choice to decide on what you want to do. It might necessarily not be what others would perceive as being the modern thing, or perhaps the right thing to do, or the correct thing to do. It just means that you get to choose what you want to do, and then you get to make that choice and live by that choice without being judged.
Women empowerment, I think, would be that we should have equal opportunities in workplace. There should be end to all kinds of harassment, including sexual harassment and verbal and all kinds of also domestic violence. So that is what I'm striving for, that we should all be aware about these harassments, because most of our women aren't aware, and they think maybe because they're unaware about this, they think that it's normal to be verbally abused, emotionally abused. They think it's part of being a woman, that we have to take all this.
What does women empowerment mean to you?
It means having women understand that they are equal and that they can do the things that they want to do, not because someone lets them do it.
The right for women to contribute to the community, to the society, and to our economic growth as well, and also to their personal development, to their families. So when we combine all these things together, so the right for the women to contribute to overall growth of the community and to the society. So for me, that's women empowerment.
So what does women empowerment mean to you?
Women being able to do everything that they want to do.
Consider to be your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement is working in this Armenia school for the past 20 plus years, and especially with girls. I have been a teacher for the girls, a leading teacher for the girls. So that's a big achievement. I studied in Armenia for 10 years and worked here for 20 years. So altogether it's 30 years in the same place. So that's my greatest achievement.
Okay, I cannot actually single out one achievement and say this is the most greatest achievement, but there are quite a few. But I would say being a teacher is my greatest achievement because I got to touch people's lives. In my teaching career for about 18 years, I have taught from secondary to higher secondary, plus I have also I have trained teachers. So in that career, in my career, I have actually I have seen people change due to some effect I had on their lives. So that I would say is one of my greatest achievements.
When I consider my achievements, there are a lot of things like from my childhood up to here. So the academic achievements that I have received, as well as professionally and personally, the family goals and everything. Yeah. So I have worked very hard, and I believe that I have achieved what I set my goals. After setting my goals, I have worked for it, and then I have achieved it. And I think there are still a lot of things that I want to do. So it's a continuous process for me. Yeah.
Being able to be part of this fight that we have fought for the past few years, the fact that I got the opportunity and the acceptance to be a huge part of that fight, and to perhaps even lead that fight in many fronts.
What would you consider to be your greatest achievement?
To be able to do what I want, to be able to go where I want, to be able to wear what I want without having gotten permission for doing that.
What would you consider to be your greatest achievement? I think being a doctor is also, is a big achievement for a woman. I came from a family where nobody is actually nobody has done even A levels. Okay, so I think being a woman and achieving and becoming a doctor and a gynecologist, I think it's a big achievement for my family. I think even for the entire society.
What was the hardest thing that you had to do professionally?
If you ask that question from anybody in a leading role, they would say that's managing HR issues. Mm-hmm. Not that I get to deal with HR issues every day, but dealing with these HR issues, it changes somebody's lives. It has an effect on somebody's livelihood. So that is something that is challenging, but we have to do it.
What was the hardest thing that you had to do professionally?
Hardest? I've had to cast some votes that I would rather not have cast. I like to think it was done for the greater good, and I've had to make political decisions or go along with certain political decisions that I would rather not have had to in a perfect world. But I like to believe those decisions were made for the greater good and definitely for a better, more democratic future.
What was the hardest thing you had to do professionally?
Professionally. Personally. Actually, we live in a community where we are brought up in big families, right? From the very beginning. And my family is quite big, and I lived with everybody in the same place. So I was very, very dependent on my parents, on my family. So the first obstacle that I faced in my life was leaving them and going for studies for abroad. When actually it was scary at first, just leaving family and then going abroad for study. I was thinking, how am I going to survive, whether I'll be able to do it, whether I'll be independent enough. So that that was the first thing that I faced. But once I went abroad alone to study, once I started living independently, then it became a whole new life. I mean, you are on your own, you have your own responsibilities. So I think that was the biggest obstacle for me.
Every time I visit jail, it's hard. It's difficult to see people being confined. It's difficult to see the pain of the confined person as well as the family, because when we visit jail to visit a client, it's not just that we have a 1 hour or 2 hour conversation with the person in detention. We come back when we relate what the person has said to the family. We convey to the family their message, and then we kind of have to be the mode of communication between the families and the person in detention. And it's very difficult to see the pain the family goes through.
My work environment is a very women-led environment, so I know that a lot of people face these challenges at workplaces, but I don't, not at my workplace right now, and this is where I spent most of my life working. But I was at a state institution once. It was an independent institution, and I was the head of the commission. But it was very obvious that some of the others that worked with me, that I needed to work with, could not really accept the fact that a woman was asking them to do things. I was a woman, and I was younger than some of the other people there. So I think that probably would have been, in that sense, the hardest thing. But most of the challenges that we have faced, that I have faced in my work life, is not necessarily because I'm a woman. I think it's because of the values that I carry, and the fact that we always try to hold people accountable, and it's not something that people like. But otherwise, I mean, people use intimidation, humiliation, a lot of the times pretending not to take us seriously. These are very common things that women would face. I have faced it in my time in certain workplaces.
What was the hardest thing you had to do professionally?
Professionally, the hardest thing is to convince people about equality and the rights that we are fighting for.